What if I told you that houses, bridges, and mills that you casually pass by in games are built with the craftsmanship and construction methods that shaped real medieval towns? Let's explore one of those towns together and see how real-world design brings fantasy worlds to life. We are heading to that village over there, but first we have to cross this bridge. Now this is what's known as an arch bridge, named for its curved shape, which naturally redirects weight and pressure into the ground through its supports. Funny enough, I've actually worked on a real arch bridge before, and let me tell you, being part of that construction was both challenging and exciting. Take a closer look at where the arches end. Those solid supports on either side of the bridge are called abutments. They anchor the structure into the ground and help transfer the load from the arch into the earth. And right there in the water, those are piers, vertical supports that help divide the span of the bridge and carry the weight between the arches. Together, they keep the whole structure stable, even across moving water. Take a look at the stonework along the sides of this bridge. The way each block is arranged mimics traditional masonry techniques. The texture shows what looks like hand-placed, rough-cut stones fitted tightly together. Now shifting our focus to the walkway, it seems to be made of compacted soil and weathered stone, rather than any formal paving. It likely began as a layer of coarse rocks laid over the deck, which, over time, became leveled and compacted by constant foot traffic and exposure to the environmental elements. The result is a rugged and even surface, but one that's entirely practical, especially for a modest rural settlement like this. We are now approaching this elevated platform, or what could be seen as an overhead walkway. Visually, it's a hybrid of stone and timber construction. The base appears to be supported by stone piers or retaining walls, providing structural foundation and resisting lateral forces. This kind of mixed material construction was common in medieval towns, stone for load-bearing and permanence, while timber for flexibility and ease of assembly. Structurally, it's simple but effective, and from a design standpoint, it blends perfectly with the surrounding village architecture. Let's take a walk up this elevated walkway. The stairs leading up have a nice and sturdy look to them. However, as we move higher, we can see that there are no handrails along the sides, which could pose a safety risk. In modern construction, any drop more than a meter is required to have a barrier or handrail, according to the international safety standards. It's a small detail but a crucial one when it comes to ensuring safety. As we continue along the elevated platform, take a look at the rope strung between the columns. It's acting as a kind of handrail, but from a safety perspective, this setup is far from ideal. It's just a single line of rope which offers minimal protection in real-world construction, especially at height. You'd expect multiple horizontal rails or even a mesh barrier to prevent falls. Now if we look up, you'll notice a timber arch ceiling structure spanning across the top of this platform. These curved elements are likely anchored to the vertical columns, creating both visual appeal and structural efficiency. This kind of arch helps distribute the weight more evenly, while also giving the space a more crafted and enclosed feel. A clever design that balances both form and function. Allow me to introduce you to a word we often hear in design and construction: landscaping. It's more than just plants and pathways. It's the art of shaping outdoor spaces to be both functional and visually inviting. In civil works, landscaping is usually divided into two main parts. We have softscape, which covers all the living elements like trees, grass, and plants. Then, hardscape, which refers to built features like pathways, retaining walls, stone borders, and stairs. You might also come across terms like waterscape for water-based features or nightscape when lighting is a design focus. As we approach the watermill, take a look at this wooden walkway. Structurally, it's a straightforward beam-supported footbridge. Timber planks laid over horizontal joists, all resting on vertical supports driven into the ground. Now here's where it gets interesting. Today, we would drive those vertical posts or piles using heavy machinery like hydraulic hammers or augers. But in early construction, builders didn't have that kind of technology. They relied on manual methods, lifting and dropping heavy stones, or weighted frames to hammer each timber deep into the riverbed or soft soil. They often sharpened the ends of the post, used the force of the gravity, and sometimes even loosened the ground with water to help the wood sink into place. It was slower, yes, but incredibly effective. Some of the oldest timber pile foundations in Europe are still holding centuries later. Now take a look at this, the watermill. It's one of the oldest, smartest uses of natural energy in human history. A watermill is essentially a mechanical system that converts the energy of flowing water into rotational motion, which can then power tools like saws, grindstones, and hammers. The most iconic part, of course, is the large wooden wheel, called the water wheel, and it's designed with blades or paddles that catch the current. As the river pushes against the blades, the wheel turns. That rotation is transferred to a simple mechanical linkage, often a wooden shaft, to turn gears or crank systems inside the mill. However, have you noticed this? The watermill's massive wooden shaft disappears right into the stone building, but there's no door, no hatch, no access point at all. Unless someone can teleport, there's no way to get inside to check the mill's mechanism or perform maintenance. Now let us enter one of these houses. This house stands on a solid stone foundation, which is a smart choice for rural structures like this. Stone is not only durable, but it lifts the timber structure off the damp ground, helping prevent rot and water damage, especially important in riverside settings like this one. Moving up, the walls are timber framed with exposed wooden beams and infill panels. This kind of construction is typical of medieval style buildings, relying on strong structural frame while still being relatively lightweight and fast to assemble. The beams even show natural imperfections, giving it that handcrafted, rugged look, a visual nod to traditional craftsmanship. Now if we take a little closer, yup, those are animal horns being used as candle holders. It definitely adds to the rustic fantasy vibe, but let's be real for a second. In actual medieval history, using horns like this one for open flames wasn't really a thing. Horns were mostly used for drinking or storing powders, not for holding hot, melting wax. So this is more of a cool for Skyrim kind of detail, rather than a practical lighting choice from the past. Now this staircase. If you haven't already known, I'm from the Philippines and we have stairs like these in some old homes. And let me tell you, if your feet are wet, good luck with that. One slip and you're not walking downstairs, you're landing downstairs, face first. It's got charm, sure, just maybe not built with today's safety standards in mind. Now up here on the upper floor, the ceiling suddenly opens up and it's actually pretty high for such a small house. It gives the room the airy open feel, but also raises a few questions. Like, have you noticed these candles again stuck inside animal horns way up there? Who's lighting those? You'd need a ladder or maybe some fire magic. It's a cool visual, but not the most practical lighting setup. Also, take a look around. There are no windows up here. It's all enclosed, which means when it gets warm, this place could get pretty stuffy. And with no windows to open, I guess you wouldn't want to leave the door open for airflow either, unless you're fine with the occasional wolf or snake wandering in for a visit. Riverwood in Skyrim really nails that medieval charm, doesn't it? Sure, it's all fantasy magic, but it makes you appreciate the creative world building. It's one of those places you can't help but admire, even if it's a bit too ambitious to ever exist in real life. If you're into historical vibes, check out this video about the 18,000s barracks. You might like it.